Service assures that all MPs and staff of Parliament have been evacuated as firefighters work to douse a fire outbreak which gutted portions of the Job 600. Would you understand? MPs have been asked to go home. Also, government assures it will enforce the ban on the export of grains, especially to neighboring countries, as it moves to avert a looming food crisis due to the impact of drought. Coming up later, main opposition NDC demands emergency meeting with Electoral Commission over discrepancies in voter exhibition exercise. Much later on the program, Asantehene Otunfo Osetutu II distools the Jasehene, Bermuhene and Achimia Hene of Sabronum for turning a blind eye on illegal mining within their localities. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, all activities in the Job 600 building at Parliament House have been brought to a halt because of a fire outbreak. Parliamentarians and other members of staff at the House of Legislature have been evacuated as firefighters work to douse the flame. We also do understand that the MPs have been asked to go home. I spoke to the Deputy PRO of the Ghana National Fire Service, Alex King Nate, earlier.
For now, all I can say is that the fire has been contained to just the affected second floor, and we are working hard to make sure that the fire doesn't spread to the unaffected floors as it stands. And a bit of correction is 3 fire tenders, and we just dispatched our rescue appliance there to help augment the efforts of the 3 fire tenders at the scene.
Okay, so what you're telling us is that you've been able to contain the fire on the second floor.
Exactly, and we are working hard to make sure that it doesn't spread to the floors at the top or below.
Earlier, we had the understanding that a number of offices on the second floor have already been gutted and the fire was spreading rapidly. Are you able to tell us really how much of offices there have been damaged?
Well, as you said, it's spread, and for now, because we are rigorously fighting a fire, we can't count the number of offices affected. So probably when you call for an update later, we should be able to have that number for you.
3FM.
I know it's so early yet, but are you able to tell us what might have sparked this fire?
We are not too sure yet. As you said, it's still early days. Firefighting is rigorously in progress, and once it's done, investigations are normally carried out during and after fires. So obviously, we've started with the during, and after the fire, would complete the investigation, and we'll do all to, we'll not leave any stone unturned.
When did the fire actually start?
We received a call over 30 minutes ago, and within 5 minutes, our station at National Headquarters was quickly dispatched to the scene to fight the fire. And upon arrival, they realized the fire, as you said, was fast spreading. So they had to call on efforts from augmentation from our station at Makola and then our station at Trade Fair, all to come together to help put the situation under control.
Why did you have to call them? No hydrant in Parliament? What exactly is the problem?
So we need constant water supply. With the hydrants in Parliament, we'll use it for replenishing. But at that particular point where we are fighting the fire, we need to bring in more fire tenders to be able to tackle the fire from different areas. So the hydrant at Parliament will be used to replenish the appliances that have been brought in already.
We also got information that Parliament apparently doesn't have a fire tender. Can you confirm that for us?
So, yes, I can confirm that there is no fire tender at Parliament as of now, because we rely on the efforts of
3FM.
We know our headquarters is closer. We have a functional station at ministries, which are all very close to Parliament. And we needed the fire tender at Anya, so we had to be strategic in being able to distribute our limited fire tenders. So the fire tender at Parliament is what is currently being used at Anya Fire Station.
Any reason Parliament hasn't had a fire tender, and for how long has this situation been?
Well, it's not been up to a year, as we said. But the reason being that, as I said, our national headquarters is very close. Our national headquarters is very close by. Our station and ministries is also very close by, all very close to the Parliament. That's how come we have to be strategic in being able to allocate our fire tenders to be able to serve everybody in Ghana.
Again, you said that you received the call about 30 minutes ago, just when we started the conversation, and within 5 minutes, your men were already there. But the fire had spread so rapidly. Are you able to tell us why the fire spread so rapidly in a building that was built with the consciousness that we should be able to deal with fire?
We realize that with fires, it's not about how conscious you build it would probably help prevent the damage. But with this, you realize that there's a lot of combustible materials there. This is a place that houses a lot of computers, a lot of chairs, a bit of everything. So the spread of fire due to the availability of combustible materials is inevitable. So yes, and I'm sure for the fact that they have used very good equipment or good tools to refurbish the place.
And you heard that Alex Nante, he is a member of the PR department of the Ghana National Fire Service, giving us update earlier when we brought you that breaking news of the fire in Parliament. Let's bring you an update from there. Grace Hamwajiman has been following this for us. She joins us live on the phone. Grace, what's the situation now?
Beatrice, so as we speak, the fire service have been able to contain the fire, or what they would say, they have doused the fire, so there's no more inferno. We still see most of them around. In fact, the chief fire officer himself has to come here because of the situation. But currently, they have done it. All the fire tenders are still on site to ensure that there's no other fire or there's no relapse. Everything has been brought under control. Parliamentary staff have been asked to go home. Parliament has called it a day for their staff. They've been asked to go home. The sitting that was postponed in the morning, we don't have any information that it might continue later today. So it looks like the fire has brought almost everything to an abrupt end here at Parliament, and business is likely to resume tomorrow.
Indeed. In fact, we are learning from the chairman of the committee, that the assurances committee, that the sitting has been rescheduled. We are yet to know when exactly they will come back with it. But earlier you were telling us that the communications director in Parliament wanted to address the media. Is there anything coming from there?
Yes. So she assembled us for the Greater Accra Regional Commander to address us on the update on the fire. So she told us that the fire happened in one of the storerooms in Parliament. And so because it contains items that are quite combustible, like archives and other plastic materials, it inflamed the fire. That was why it was a bit difficult to contain. She also tells us that the service used at 1 hour, 16 minutes to bring the fire to control. And so now they've controlled the fire, and then everything is likely to resume to normal, like I said, hopefully by tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwajiman. She's a lady in Parliament monitoring this fire outbreak in Job 600 for us. The information coming in again is that the fire started from the east wing of the Job 600. We also do understand that the Assurances Committee that was sitting at the time just when the fire started has had to reschedule its meeting. So far, MPs and all other staff of Parliament have been asked to go home, and the fire was on the second floor of Job 600, the east wing. That's where the fire is said to have started earlier. You also heard the fire officer there telling us that indeed they had about 3 fire tenders attending to the situation, and now the fire has been brought under control. We'll try and bring you an update as and when we have on the situation. Also this afternoon, stakeholders in farming are calling for clear guidelines for the rollout of the government support for farmers in regions carrying currently experiencing a dry spell. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture on Monday announced a raft of measures to deal with the crisis, including a ban on the export of grains. Government is also to make cash and input distribution to affected farmers. The dry spell, which initially hit about 5 regions, has now spread to 3 more regions, bringing the total to 8. Here's the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Beatrice Adu, announcing the ban earlier.
The following measures have been approved by government for implementation by the ministry to avert a food security crisis. With immediate effect, government is placing a ban on the export of grains, including maize, rice, soya bean, until the situation normalizes. This measure is essential to ensure the availability of these critical crops on the domestic market. Any farmer with stock and interested in selling should contact our district directorates across the country, our district aggregators, or the Directorate of Crops, Ministry of Agriculture. This is to ensure that farmers do not suffer adversely from this ban. As earlier mentioned, the affected regions contribute over 62% of our grain supply. With the projected shortfall in grain supply, government will tap into the ECOWAS grain reserve and partner with the private sector to bridge the gap.
You heard the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Beatrice Adu. The government estimates that the drought could result in staggering losses in excess of 22 billion Ghana cedis in potential revenue. Meanwhile, the Minister for Defence, Dominic Nitiwul, has also assured that the preparedness of the military in enforcing the ban on food export.
I want to assure you to the nation that the security agencies are immediately activating their network to ensure that the ban on cereals, which has been listed, are regularly enforced so that nobody will take even a single grain out. We have the approved routes and the unapproved routes. About 80% to 90% of all exports pass through the approved routes. So I just want to assure you that already we have a lot of security personnel. From today, to ensure that no truck loads of grains will leave Ghana across to anywhere. The unapproved routes, we will also get all that even the 20% does not leave our nation. It helps us as well because we have a big problem, which is the terrorist attacks all over across the other side. So if the ban is put in place, it's enabling actively along the borders, it will help. But security is as good as the citizens themselves. So please take advantage of, if you see something, say something.
And you had the Minister for Defence, Dominic Nitiwul. We're joined on the line now by the spokesperson for the Ministry of Agric, Tanko Bakbara. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
So yesterday we heard your minister telling us that the government was going to support farmers who have been affected in this. What are the modalities involved? Because they are concerned about how, when I say they, farmers, how the support could reach them.
Yes, thank you once again for this opportunity. Yes, we are all witness to the measures government is putting in place to ensure that our food security issues are taken care of. Yeah, so the immediate one is the immediate place of ban on export and of our grains. We all know that ECOWAS will have a trade protocol that we will need to follow, and therefore we will normally need an executive approval, and that has been done to ensure that this is activated. And let me say that it's a multi-ministerial intervention. So the Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Defense is on board. We have the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and the Ministry of Trade and Industry as well. Yeah, yes, as we heard, 62% of our grain requirements comes from these areas that are affected. And that means that normally Northern Ghana will harvest between November and December. And that is what the country will depend on until mid-Ghana starts its major season. You see, nature has made it say that Ghana is so much blessed with harvest in terms of we harvest 3 times in a year. The middle zone has 2 seasons, the major and the minor season, while Northern Ghana has 1 season. And that has always gone in favor of Ghana in terms of our food security needs. So if there's going to be a shortfall in expected yields, then it means that we have to protect and conserve what we have. And the government has given this assurance and has even indicated that, yes, farmers may need to sell their produce. We are saying that government is prepared to mop up produce that farmers have, which will be put into a strategic stock for the purpose of food security.
So that will be on the ban. That will be on the ban. I was asking about how the help will get to farmers. I know yesterday the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, was also there at that press conference saying that the government needed about $500 million. You heard about 140. So you're going to raise about $360 million. The concern of the farmers was that we are in an election year and the likelihood of help going to politically inclined farmers who have been affected could be high, and they want that assurance that everybody, irrespective of your political color, would get help as long as you are affected in this crisis.
Okay, so I want to give that highest level of assurance that thus we have held discussions with our donors and partners in the agriculture sector, and certainly World Bank or IFAD or other donor institutions will not sit and allow just the ministry to execute this intervention. So all are coming on board. It's going to be a special task force that is going to handle this on a very transparent basis. So there's no fear of this going, because hunger has no political color, and we are fighting a common enemy, which is food security requirements, and that will not be done. Besides, we have records of farmers who have been affected. As we speak, the MAE directory is still on the field, having further assessment, and will keep updating us as we go. And these farmers are going to be targeted. Fortunately, the ministry rolled out what we call the Ghana Agriculture and Agribusiness Platform, which has records of our farmers and every activity they undertake. That platform is going to be deployed in ensuring that the intended beneficiaries actually get what they deserve in terms of interventions from government.
Finally, for me, how soon will this help you're thinking of reach the farmers?
Come again.
How soon will the farmers get the help?
Well, as I speak, mobilization has begun, and most of our developmental partners are giving us some form of, let me say, in kind, their contribution. And mobilization is ongoing, and as soon as the processes are completed and the team or the task force properly constituted, we'll begin the immediate term actually has to do with the remaining of the season. How do we ensure our farmers go back and till the soil? So that is immediate, and seed and the nursery inputs will be given to those farmers to replant because it's seasonal. Once the minor season for southern sector has begun, we cannot afford to delay on that.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. And that was Tanko Bagbara. He speaks for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And just a little bit more of what the government announced to us yesterday, that also government is actively engaging with development partners, like you just heard the PR for the Agri Ministry talk to us about. Finance Ministry exploring options for responsible borrowing to finance the remaining costs of the crisis response, and Finance Ministry emphasizing importance of transparency and accountability in the use of the funds. It's some 20 minutes past the hour 12 on 3FM 92.7. You're still listening to the midday news here. Now, again, this afternoon, a group known as the Forum for Accountability in Ghana, a civil society organization, is petitioning the Special Prosecutor, Kisia Jabing, to investigate Ghana's expenditure at the 13 All-African Games. Now, they say that concerns have been raised over the transparency, accountability, and value for money in the use of public funds. There are also concerns about procurement-related breaches, conflict of interest, and other forms of corruption in the disbursement of the monies. The controversy began when the Minister of Youth and Sport, Mustafa Yusuf, disclosed during a Public Accounts Committee session on Tuesday, August 20, 2024, that the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation had been allocated over $3.6 million for its coverage of the games, a claim which was vehemently rejected by Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Noble Crosby Annan, is at the office of the Special Prosecutor, which is currently being petitioned. He joins us live on the line. Crosby, what can you report? Okay, we seem to have lost Crosby on the line there, but you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Let's try and connect to Crosby Annan, who is at the office of the Special Prosecutor. Crosby, what can you tell us about this petitioning? Okay, our lines are not helping us. And let's bring you some election-related issues. And the opposition, National Democratic Congress, has written to the Electoral Commission demanding an emergency meeting to discuss the voters' exhibition exercise. A letter cited by the General Secretary, Fifi Kwete, expressed concerns about very serious discrepancies discovered during the ongoing 2024 voter exhibition exercise. The NDC says that an analysis of the provisional voter register reveals many discrepancies that need urgent attention. The 7-day nationwide voter exhibition exercise is expected to end today. Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is NDC Deputy Director of Elections and IT. He joins us live on the phone. Good afternoon to you, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, my dear Beatrice. How are you? I'm
wonderful. Thank you for asking. Now, Doc, you say that you have identified discrepancies in the ongoing voter exhibition and want a meeting with the Electoral Commission. Are you able to tell us what these discrepancies are?
Yeah, we have taken our time to study the provisional register they've given us on the 19th. You remember we told you that they dumped the register to less than 24 hours to the exhibition. At least they knew what they were doing. But we were also up to our task. We've taken time to study the provisional register. And also we've studied the one they've exhibited in the field. And we've seen massive discrepancies in the register. This register cannot be used for purpose.
What are those discrepancies? What are those?
I'll give you one example, of which there are several of them. Yesterday, somebody was arrested in Tamale about an illegal transfer. The regional executive addressed press on it. How can you transfer people in absentia? Who does that? Where from that? How can they transfer people without the knowledge of the voters? And this one, it's widespread. People are using the short code and then it's giving them different information.
And
so,
what again?
As you speak now, Beatrice, I'm not sure whether you have gone to check your data.
I'm yet to check mine, but what else?
Because we have seen it, those who voted in 2020 currently cannot even trace their name in certain part of the race. What is happening? So we've cataloged all this. There are several of them. In fact, we are keeping it to our chest. We don't want to open the cat out of the basket now. We want to meet the Electoral Commission. That is the proper forum for them to see is their data. This is your data you have given us. These are the problems in the data. Let's resolve it before you can think of adjudicating anything after.
How soon are you expecting to meet the EC? Because you call it emergency. Is it today?
In fact, we sent the letter to them yesterday. They received the letter. We are waiting for their response. As we speak now, they have not responded back to it yet.
Do you intend to follow up just so you have it as soon as possible? How soon do you want to have this?
Of course, we will follow up. It is within the domain because given us the PVR means you wanted us to study it. The PVR was not given it for us to decorate our office. And so if we have seen issues with it, of course, we need to write back to you that we have seen issues. We want to come and address it with you. That is why we are not addressing the issues in the media. I don't would have hold press conference and throw out all these issues in the public domain. That is not our interest. Our interest is for the things to be resolved. That is why we've written to them.
All right, we'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. And that was Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer. He is NDC Deputy Director of Elections and IT. And as I mentioned earlier, the exhibition exercise is ending today. Ekioforiwa Dakon is monitoring the exercise for us. She joins us live on the line. Eki, are you able to tell us which areas you've visited and what you can report from there?
So far, like you said, we've been to the Medina electoral area and Langpantana electoral area. So these two electoral areas, we spoke to some of the polling agents and they told us that within the period of 1 week, there have been no issues during the process and largely it's been peaceful. The only issue they're having is probably it's notable amongst them is a low turnout of voters. It's something that they've not really encountered the past years. So this is a bit new to them and but hopefully everything has been well. Everything went on well.
Thank you very much, Ekioforiwa Dakon. She's our reporter monitoring the end of the voter exhibition exercise today for us in Accra. Yes, here on the Midday News on 3FM to the Shanti region now, where the Asantehene Otumfo Osetutu II has destood the Jasehene, Bemuhene, and Achiamehene of Sabronum for superintending over illegal mining, locally referred to as Galamsey. The youth and some elders of the area on Monday, August 19, 2024, presented a petition to the overlord of the Asanteman to investigate and bring to book the people behind the emergence of Galamsey in the community, as they suspect the involvement of some traditional leaders. The community vowed not to allow the illegal activity to continue after realizing that the only source of water has suffered pollution and farmlands destroyed. First, let's listen to the Asantehene Otumfo Osetutu II.
Reporter the Bremia Shaha Woodin Wom Achami and the Wom Ade Munina Mudingo and Mamuta Wamobo Chrono. This in Wanya Abukodo Anchimo. Na media me catch them sir. Mopa Mozango Dinko. Mamia Chimunina Gum Namra. Mogalam Samu Yena Monco season and them to me no free Monsati. Sabronim Nimon Mabono. Na mama nkrofo abanum su obatan wo kan na abayar sika wo penti akwamu yenko mu aka nyina.
And in Heather, the Asantehene Otumfo Osetutu II, Ibrahim Abubakar, joins us with some more. Ibrahim, first tell us briefly what the Asantehene was saying in Chi and what more you can tell on this issue.
Well, basically, he was telling them that in the absence of a chief, we know the Sabronim chief passed on some months ago, and for that matter, the community was entrusted in the hands of the Jasehene, Bemuhene, and Akwamuhene. And just a few weeks ago, some illegal activity, mining activity started there. And that's why the resident had to petition. So he was telling them that he entrusted the community in their care to manage it before they get a substantive chief. But whilst that, they have decided to follow their parochial interests and rather involve themselves in Galamsey activity. So he's taking that power from them. And he also warned them that if the district chief executive is afraid of arresting them, he's just telling them to go back to Sabronim. But then if the activity or illegal activity continue, then he will personally call for the arrest of these three chiefs. And for that matter, he told them point blank that they have been bestowed and that power has been taken over from them. So
Ibrahim,
now he has told the community to find someone
Ibrahim,
who can manage the affairs of the community.
Very briefly, are you able to tell us the reaction of those who petitioned and perhaps the community?
Well, that of excitement because all along they were calling for an end in illegal mining activity, and they said anytime they try to fight this Galamsey menace, these chiefs will block or prevent their chances. So now that they have been asked to vacate that post, they believe that they will be successful when it comes to the fight against Galamsey.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's our reporter in the Ashanti region. And before we go, imagine getting home and totally refusing to respond to anything that has to do with work from your boss, so you can concentrate on yourself, family and friends, of course, and other matters of life. Well, that is what a law in Australia has made possible for those in that country. A right to disconnect rule has come into effect in Australia, offering relief to people who feel forced to take calls or read messages from employers after they finish their day's work. The new law allows employees to ignore communications after hours if they choose to, without fear of being punished by their bosses. A survey published last year estimated that Australians worked on average 281 hours of unpaid overtime annually. So, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. And that's it for the news here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Hello there, good afternoon. It's time now for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, government finalizes new policy for non-bank financial institutions to improve sector's market offering. We'll hear from Director of Financial Sector Division at the Finance Ministry, Samson Akligo.
Some work has been done on it and it's almost at the final stages.
Also, inflation for the month of August 2024 projected to increase to 21.8% despite consecutive declines experienced. We'll bring you details of a report by investment firm IC Securities. And tax director at Deloitte calls for a strong withholding tax regime but wants threshold to be revised upwards to boost private sector. We'll bring you details of that as well. My name is Menu Afo. Stay tuned for more stories. Thanks so much for your time. Now, government is in the final stages of introducing a new policy aimed at enhancing the market offerings of non-bank financial institutions, including savings and loans companies, microfinance institutions, and rural and community banks. This was revealed by Samson Akligo, Director of the Financial Sector Division at the Ministry of Finance, as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen the sector. According to him, the policy is expected to address key challenges in the sector and promote financial inclusion, particularly in underserved communities.
We need a new industry policy. And as you know, some work has been done on it and it's almost at the final stages. I think between the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank, we would have to work to see how we shape this policy document very soon. And I think that this policy document must be owned by both the policy regulators, the policy makers, the regulators, and the industry. And whatever we can do, even from today, to make sure that that happens is important, because we must not repeat the mistakes of the past. What I know is that the policy as it is today focuses on reviewing your business models. It's very, very important. It also focuses improving business models, and it also focuses on regulation. and it also focuses on some of the key things that the industry needs to get better. But what is more important is the second point I want to leave with you tonight is that this industry needs a stronger industry association.
That was Director of Financial Sector Division at the Finance Ministry, Samson Akligo there. Now, investment firm IC Securities has predicted an uptick in August inflation despite the consecutive declines in annual inflation experienced recently. According to the firm, the projected increase is due to an unfavorable base drift effect. The following news desk report has details. The investment firm anticipates August inflation to rise to 21.8% from the 20.9% recorded in July 2024, although month-on-month inflation is expected to ease. In its analysis of the outlook for inflation, IC Securities stressed the need for caution in lower inflation and interest rate outlooks. Additionally, it pointed out an observation made in August 2023, which was an unexpected contraction in the consumer price index levels by 0.4 points, resulting in a 300 basis points decline in annual inflation. Given the unconventional nature of a CPI contraction in August, it expects an increase in the CPI level for August 2024, albeit a modest rise capped by food harvest. IC Securities believes that even a slight increase in the August 2024 CPI will push annual inflation. They foresee upside risk from the spillover effect of the utility tariff hike in July 2024, although the relatively stable cedi could partly lessen the impact. Consequently, IC Research forecasts annual inflation at 21.8%, an increase by 90 basis points from July, while the month-on-month rate declines to 0.5% in August 2024. That was a 3 Business News Desk report on a projected uptick in August inflation to 21.8% by investment firm IC Securities. Away from that, Associate Director at the Tax and Regulatory Department at Deloitte Ghana, Wisdom Pano, is calling for a strong withholding tax regime in Ghana, but wants the threshold to be revised upwards to boost private sector growth. Speaking at the annual conference of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana, Mr. Pano said that the country has reached a stage whereby the tax system must be revised to boost the confidence of the private sector. He alluded that the cost brackets play a critical role in which the private sector interfaces with the withholding tax regime.
I have some questions, have some very good opinions around what we should be shaping in balancing the need to raise revenue as well as the need for businesses to grow. Number one, the threshold for withholding tax. We had the threshold as 500 cedis prior to 2016. Post 2016, we have it as 2,000 cedis. Is it time to revise the threshold? My understanding of the policy thinking of the threshold is that, and that is tied to how I explained the cost to business. We should have a strong withholding tax regime, but should taxpayers be required to withhold on every single transaction? I think the threshold came in to allow some, if you like, the minister's rule that would exclude certain small payments, typical petty cash payments from withholding tax.
That was Wisdom Panu, Associate Director at the Tax and Regulatory Department at Deloitte Ghana. Now let's shift your attention to Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, as it has described the Ministry of Food and Agriculture's decision to ban grain exports as unfortunate and avoidable. The ban, aimed at mitigating a looming food crisis caused by droughts, has been criticized by Executive Director Bismarck Owusu-Norte, who argues that government interventions to address the country's reliance on rain-fed agriculture have been hindered by political interference. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture has banned farmers from exporting grains outside Ghana for the rest of 2024 to avert food crisis in the country.
The famous Kalugu was a product. We also the fanfare that characterized the sword cutting. No work has been done. Only for us to hear that we have spent $11.8 million on mobilization. and you go to the dam site, you don't see anywhere there that is worth $11.8 million. Even though nature is changing, we have the chance as a country to put in place measures to reduce the impact it will have on our food systems. But unfortunately, we didn't do that. We are a country that is only interested in outputs. Oh, we've put up 574 dams, we spend X, but we are not interested in what is the benefit or the impact or the outcome of that investment. Now it is clear that the outcomes of those investments, they are just waste of money. We've wasted $175 billion on empty dams that are not fulfilling any model. I think it's quite unfortunate.
Bismarck Owusu-Norte is the Executive Director of Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Well, that will be all for Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website on www.3